Hello and welcome to the Divorce Answered webinar, Creating Financial Competency When Your Relationship Ends. I am your host and leader for today, Rachel Shara from Divorce Answered. I'm a relationship expert, divorce coach and counsellor, and I help many people like you through their breakups and separations. And I set up the business Divorce Answered because when I separated, I couldn't find the information that I really wanted and needed at the time without having to pay for it. So with the focus today being finances, I want to help you save on your journey by getting informed, having clarity, feeling confident and empowered as you undertake your separation journey. So first of all, divorcing is a full-time job. And if you've already got a full-time job, divorcing will become your second full-time job. It is a time of extra expenses, heightened emotions, and often overwhelm. And I find that when you know what's going on and you help yourself through the process, you can make the journey that little bit easier for yourself. So what do we know about breaking up? First of all, everyone needs money. And surprisingly, most people, even in Australia, are one paycheck away from poverty. And when I say that, I mean that everybody is relying on their next paycheck. They don't have savings. Well, adding in divorcing or breaking up and the changes to your financial circumstances, it gets even harder. So, to state the obvious, breaking up is often a shock to one of the two in the couple. Often one person's planned it and the other wasn't necessarily expecting it or not expecting it right then and there. Being poor is one of the biggest stresses that separating people have. And when you break up, you often go into two separate homes and you don't have that joint income anymore. So it's all about starting afresh and learning to live within your own means. Surprisingly, many people, when they break up, are not aware of their financial situation. They're not sure how to budget or how to, even perform simple tasks as internet banking. So we're going to learn a little bit about that today. And sadly, money is often used as a way to control, manipulate, or coerce in separation. So again, living within your means is a way of limiting the control and the financial abuse that you may possibly encounter. So living within your means contributes towards your ultimate freedom. My clients that see me and all through my website, I have 5 things that I recommend everybody does when they first break up, and that is to address your privacy. Change your passwords, change your PINs, lock your phone so that nobody can just pick it up and use it. Even to the point of creating a PO box so that the mail is not accessible in the standard letterbox, that it goes to a private location. To use the Divorce Answered separation checklist. It creates a list of things or items that you can address, consider, gather. It might even pose a few questions for you that you'll be like, I need to ask my lawyer about this one. Head to the bank. Not only can you tell them that you are now separated, you need to ensure that you have your own bank account. You know what bank accounts you're named on and also what mortgages or debts or loans that you're named on, and protect your finances because that's what we need in separation. We all need money. So ask for dual signatories on your mortgage and on your offset account or any other large joint savings account so that no one can take the money away from you, but equally they can't put you into additional debt. Centrelink is a great place to start. They have lots of access to lots of resources, be it financial, social workers, counselling, job search. So depending on your situation and your needs, Centrelink is a fantastic resource for you. And finally, to try to limit some of the emotional burden and reliving your separation or your breakup story, create your own divorce story. 1 or 2 sentences that you can share with your friends and loved ones about what you've gone through. Enough information to satisfy them, but not enough for you to have to go through and rehash the whole separation story again. Creating your divorce team. Now, this is about having the right group of people around you to support you through your breakup. So I'm a separation strategist, and I can certainly help you get prepared, have an idea, have a plan. Your family lawyer, definitely a family lawyer is really helpful to have in your divorce team. Make sure it's a family lawyer, not a commercial lawyer or a wills and estate lawyer, because it's quite a niche, specialized field. An accountant, financial planner, mortgage broker should be on that list, a psychologist or counselor or therapist, and your personal support network, your friends and family. Just pick a couple that will allow you to vent and that won't make your situation worse. Like, they're not going to be antagonistic and they're not going to be inflammatory. They're just going to allow you to sit with your feelings and download. What's really important when you're looking at your divorce team is to use your specialists for their speciality. Don't use your family lawyer as your therapist, because then you will have shocking bills at the end. Equally, I wouldn't be taking financial advice on what to do with your money from me, a separation strategist. That's where your accountant or financial planner comes into play. So use your specialist on your divorce team for their speciality. And when you've created that whole group of people, you will feel very confident and quite comfortable with what you're doing. So many people that I see or hear think, oh, I've broken up, I need to go straight to my lawyer. But that's not quite right. You can see your lawyer before breaking up or through the relationship with your spouse at the time. But if your relationship has ended, you don't have to rush to see your lawyer immediately unless you've got a safety issue, a relocation issue, an abduction issue, and the likes. So ideally, you've got some time to prepare to meet your lawyer. So as suggested earlier, go through that separation checklist, gather what you need. It's free, use it. Then I recommend a separation statement. So when you meet your lawyer, there will be an exchange of information. They need to know who you are, what the situation is. They'll ask you, what's your name? And you'll reply. What's your birth date? And you'll reply. And it's a slow exchange. The separation statement on the Divorce Answered site helps document the details of your union so that you can present it to your lawyer in a succinct, concise way, and they can scan through that document and say, okay, that's not relevant. I need to know more about this. That's good to know. And it will leave you time in your appointment to get some strategy and get some relevant advice. Take along with you any relevant documents. So it might be your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, maybe some bank statements. Don't take the originals, take some copies, because otherwise your lawyer will have to leave the room, photocopy it. You might incur a cost for that. So just try to be organized. My first appointment, they didn't want a copy of anything, but different lawyers would like to see different things. And finally, have a list of questions that you want to ask your lawyer, as well as having an idea of what ideal outcome you want with your ex-spouse. This way, you might be able to get into really good strategy within the first meeting with your lawyer, or at least your lawyer will be able to tell you what they need to know more of so that they can help you get to that outcome that you want. So, I'm not going to tell you specifically how to save, but there are 6 C's that I've come up with that will help you save long term on professional legal fees, and even just through your whole separation process and reaching that outcome. Clarity. Clarity is about knowing what your rights are, being informed about the process, and knowing what you want. Consistency is number 2. So being consistent with what you're after based on a realistic perspective and understanding of what you're entitled to. I mean, when I say be consistent, yes, stay in your lane. Be open to negotiation. be open to compromise. You can't just be steadfast and I'm not going to listen to anybody else because this is what I want and I won't take any less. You need to be open and a little bit flexible, but consistent. When you are informed, when you have the right information, you will, and have the right team around you, you will feel confident with what you're doing and the journey that you're going on. And that when you feel confident with what you're doing, it takes away some of the fear of the process. So that's a really helpful element to have. Number 4 is communication. You need to be open and honest with your divorce team. They can't help you, especially your lawyer, if they don't know the worst thing that you've done. There's nothing worse than your lawyer or your divorce team hearing something, especially your lawyer, in court, and then them being on the back foot. You can come up with some really good strategy to the worst thing that you've ever done and overcome that. Be concise. So consider how you want to communicate with your lawyer. I'm a talker. So if I'm on the phone to somebody, I will talk and I will waffle and I will tell stories. That's not helpful when it comes time to paying a legal bill. So I very quickly learnt to start a list of questions that I had for my lawyer or things that I had to share with my lawyer and periodically send a bunch of questions in bullet point via email to the lawyer. This allowed my lawyer to review it when they had time and give me something back in writing, which would have been and is far faster exchange of information than sitting on the phone chatting to each other. And finally, be conscious of your spending and saving. So as I said earlier, divorcing is an expensive time in your life. So it's really important that you cut away unnecessary spending and save. I know that I was asked to put down some very large sums of money for interim hearings, final hearings, court dates, whatever, even financial settlement. So being conscious about your finances and showing some restraint with your spending will help you in the long run. And you know what? If you don't use all of the money that you've saved on legal fees, you can put it towards a holiday or a celebration. So for those that have a line of credit or established a line of credit or have a mortgage with the bank, and more often than not, something goes wrong and you can't meet the repayments, don't fear the bank. If you make an appointment with your local banker and openly communicate what you're going through and the challenges that you've got, being honest and sharing, like, I've got court on this date and this is what I'll be asking, they can then help you. Equally, ask for help. Ask for a reduced interest rate. Ask for a payment plan. Ask for financial assistance. If you don't ask, you won't know. The worst the bank can say is no. I guess one of the reasons historically people were afraid of the bank was because they would foreclose on people that missed a mortgage payment. Banks don't do that so much anymore. It's got to be quite severe. But in my experience with my clients, those that talk to the bank and keep them abreast of what's happening in their separation, the bank is more understanding, more flexible, and far more tolerant. Budgeting, the big B word. So, as I said before, most people are one paycheck away from poverty. And we talk about budgeting and we talk about money from time to time, but most people don't know how to budget. So there are 4 types of budgeters or ways to budget, and depending on your particular situation, you might adopt one of these 4. The first type is those that can wing it, those that just don't need to plan and don't have to worry. And often these are the higher income earners whose expenses and outgoings aren't nearly as high as what they're earning. And that's great for them. Then there are people that prescribe to a more specific, rigid style of budgeting, like the barefoot investor. If you're detail oriented and you need to be told exactly what to do so that you can clear your debt and save, maybe this is the path for you. Others want to be a little bit more casual, and they might set up their accounts into three different accounts, the 50-20-30 rule. So when their income comes into the bank every week or fortnight or whenever it may be, they immediately split it up 50% into the essentials account, which is dedicated for rent, utilities, transportation, food, the essentials to get by every day, week and month. 20% for your investments, savings and debt reduction. So clearing debt is just as good as having a surplus and saving. So 20% towards saving or clearing out the debt. And then you've got 30% of non-essentials, living life, sort of fun money. So that might be your gym memberships, hobbies, eating out and socializing goes into that. Finally, the other alternative is the budget tool, which I've got on the website at Divorce Answered. It's 100% free. For those that don't know what money should go where, I find that some clients help having 3 months of bank accounts, and they work out, yes, here's my income over on a monthly, weekly, fortnightly basis, and then they can look through their bank account and work out monthly, weekly, fortnightly, biannually or annually, and input the data that they see in their bank statements. Very quickly, it allows you to see whether you're running into debt pretty quickly, and then you can tweak the budget tool to make some adjustments, or whether you've got a surplus and then you can create a savings out of that. That budget tool is saved and encrypted, but it's saved, and you can review that periodically. Come back to the budget tool and go, okay, my income's gone up or my expenses have gone down, and you can tweak it and then see where you're at without having to input all of the data from scratch again. When it comes time for joint debt, now this is quite a detailed conversation, but I've got 6 considerations or 6 points for you to keep in mind. Number 1 is at the outset of your separation, where often you're more amicable at the outset than perhaps later on, discuss how you're going to manage that joint debt with your ex. You might have some cash in a bank account, and instead of splitting that between the two of you, you've decided to pay off the credit card. It will stop some disagreements, so it's healthy and helpful to clear some of the debt. Try to make minimum repayments where possible. Ideally, make full repayments so that you don't experience any compounding debt. Don't assume that all of the debt is your personal responsibility. It's also your ex's responsibility, but it's also not their sole responsibility. So come up with a plan, and talking to your lawyer can help with that. Any debt, any payments, keep records. So the easiest way to keep a record is to do a funds transfer. Do not hand over cash. Keep your receipts and do a funds transfer. That way you've got solid evidence that you can rely upon and call upon if you need down the track. And finally, remember that debt is included in your financial settlement. So whether you create a financial settlement early in the separation or a year or 2 later, any debt or assets that have been accrued in that separation time is included in your financial settlement. So try to avoid just racking up debt for the sake of racking it up, but do understand that any debt that you take on, it'll be included. And then once you've created the foundations, protected your privacy, set up your own bank account, got the money coming in, got an understanding of your budget, you can then work towards creating financial independence. And when there are multiple ways of doing it, but I've listed 5 here. You don't have to take up all of them. It just depends on your situation and where you're at. So continue counseling and therapy, or start some counseling or therapy. Often people through their relationship have been hurt or bruised emotionally, and they carry unseen scars or invisible scars. So get some help, learn the lessons from your relationship, and create a better future for yourself and create a better person. The second is, if you don't already have a job, get a job. You will create your own financial independence when you're earning your own money. The third item is to upskill. So learn a new skill, refresh your skills. If you're re-entering the workforce, refresh your skills, or retrain. If you're not loving what you're doing, try to carve out some time to retrain. There are lots of great online courses and or face-to-face courses, part-time, you name it. I'm sure there's a course for you. And set a date for yourself. Review your budget. Doesn't have to be every week, doesn't have to be every month, maybe every quarter. Tweak your budget, make adjustments. Maybe your debt is reducing and it's freeing up some funds, or you've paid off all of your car or your mortgage or your personal loans. You can have a little juggle and shift your funds. And then, really exciting times, create some financial goals. That is having a vision for the future, having a saving goal, a holiday goal, and breaking that goal down into bite-sized pieces and including it into your budget. Thank you for your time today and for sticking with me to the end of the financial competency when your relationship ends. I hope what you've learned has been helpful. Today's information and so much more in detail is available as an ebook called How to Best Separate When Your Relationship Ends, Practical Workbook. And you can access that on the Divorce Answered website under ebooks. Equally, if you want to know more information or ask some questions, get informed, become knowledgeable, there are lots of resources available on the Divorce Answered website, and you can head over there now to www.divorceanswered.com.au. And I really wish you every best with your budget, with your savings goals and your finances, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye.